Well, my name is Professor Dipti S. Tripathi. I am the president of International Association of Sanskrit Studies, and that's why I'm here for this conference. And I'm sure you would want to know something about the background of my academics. And let me into the history of my academic institution. I was professor and head of the Department of Sanskrit in Delhi University. Incidentally, I was the first lady head of the department. Thereafter, I was the director of National Mission for Manuscripts in the Department of Culture, Government of India. And as I said in the beginning, these days I am the president of the IASS, that is the International Association of Sanskrit Studies. So that in brief is my introduction. That's a beautiful question because I didn't need any introduction for getting into Sanskrit. I belong to a family of Sanskritists. And I have got a list of scholars for the past 7 generations with me who have been in this field. I don't know before that. But for the last 7 generations, I am the 8th. We have been in this field, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father. So I was almost born into a Sanskrit atmosphere, and I did not have to enter into a discipline as a novice. So I was interested in Sanskrit because of the environment in which I lived. And it was also a tradition in the family to have the children study Sanskrit. And that's how I got into the discipline. Then I got interested in grammar and specialized in grammar, and then in philosophy of grammar, and you name it. Oh, don't ask me that question. It takes me into history and makes me feel so nostalgic because it was the year 1972. And I was only a research student doing my PhD. A lot of excitement when this conference was announced because that's the first time that an international level conference on Sanskrit was organized anywhere in the world. So Professor V.K.R.V. Rao was the Minister of Education, and he planned this, and the conference was held, and scholars from all over the world converged in Delhi. And this, shall I say, little girl who was working towards her PhD was there in the conference, very excited about everything. And stalwarts like Professor Dandekar, he was the president of that conference. I remember the excitement when he would recognize me wherever he met and said, "Hello, Dipti, how are you?" It is something that has been in my memory all through. So that was the beginning of the World Sanskrit Conference. One didn't know that this would become into a regular affair or it would catalyze into an institution, and it was just a one-time thing planned at that particular point of time. Then, as it happened later on, there used to be, and there still is, let me not say that there used to be, there still is a Congress of Oriental and African Studies, which holds conferences, and which conferences are attended by scholars of Oriental Studies and African Studies. Sanskrit used to be a section in that conference, and it was held in Paris after the first conference in Delhi. And it was decided that Sanskrit needed a wider platform, and Sanskrit could have an independent conference in its own right. So, International Association of Sanskrit Studies was created and registered in Paris, where the Congress of Oriental and African Studies was being held. So since then, we have been registered in Paris, and we have our registered address in Collège de France, and then started the series of almost trial, because at times you will find if you go to our website and look into the details of the conference, you'll find it has not really been strictly triennial, but it is always planned as a triennial conference. After Delhi, the first one was held in Turin, and after Turin, it was held in Paris. After Paris, it was held in Germany, and so on and so forth. We kept on traveling from one place to another, and it sort of created a map, shall I say, of countries that were promoting Sanskrit studies, that were gaining from Sanskrit studies, and which have been the hub of Sanskrit studies over a period of time. I would also like to share with you the fact that India was not pushed out of the picture. India remained very much in the picture, and every fifth conference, according to our rules, is held in India. And therefore, after the Delhi conference, we had our conference in Varanasi, which was followed by one in Bangalore, which was again followed by one in Delhi. And the next conference after Kathmandu is going to be in Bombay. So we have been very closely associated, in spite of the fact that the registered office is in Paris. India being the place to go to for Sanskrit studies has remained very much in the picture. You see, Sanskrit contains the knowledge system of India for more than the past 6,000 years. And it's also interesting to note that as late as till the 18th century, Sanskrit was the medium of writing texts, writing scientific literature, writing social literature, anything that had to do with knowledge systems and academics was in Sanskrit. Therefore, when we talk of Sanskrit, we are talking of a huge canvas that contains the knowledge base of this country, and by this country I mean of India, for an extensive period of time. And in this time, people generally think Sanskrit is a language that contains texts on philosophy, texts on religion, texts on culture, or maybe literature. What few people know, Sanskrit is rich in scientific literature, and scientific literature which could contribute to the knowledge systems in the modern times. I'll give you just an example of the integration of Sanskrit into cognitive science and neuro-linguistic research. Sanskrit as a language is acknowledged to be of an enhanced phonetic structure. It creates an awareness in the mind, which awareness in turn leads to memory retention. I'm not talking out of the box. I'm talking of scientists who have gone into research into neurolinguistics, and they have come up with these conclusions. Then again, as you might be knowing, or if not, I would like to tell you that a lot of literature was passed on in the oral tradition. There weren't no presses, and there weren't no printed books, and therefore a lot of the knowledge system was passed through the oral tradition, and it was retained in the mind. Now, it has been proven in the modern neurolinguistic science that that process of mindfully retaining texts in mind enhances your memory system. It has been accepted through modern research methodology that Sanskrit can be used for enhanced memory. It has also been proved by empirical studies that Sanskrit and cognitive neuroscience are a fascinating area of research that intersect linguistics, cognitive sciences, neurological effects of language. We have a long way to go. It's not that we have come to an end of the road. The journey is just started. But we have a very, very wide area ahead where this knowledge system can be used. And the style of learning and teaching can be also used to enhance the brain's functionality, as it were. Then, of course, there are modern sciences, and I will just enumerate a few areas which could utilize the Sanskrit knowledge systems for their good. It's a long list. I don't want to get into a discourse on talking about Sanskrit knowledge systems, but I certainly want the audience and I certainly want people to be aware of what is there. So, we have talked about Sanskrit and modern neurosciences. There are other areas in pure sciences that could harvest from the knowledge systems existing in Sanskrit. The strength of the future knowledge systems and their application could benefit a lot from what there exists, and how best they are able to harvest that knowledge system. You see, the biggest problem here is that the knowledge is in a language which very few people know. And the people who know the language don't know the disciplines. Therefore, if you are talking of things like metallurgy or talking of things like physics and chemistry and biochemistry and architecture and animal husbandry, you have to have experts in those particular areas of expertise. But unfortunately, those experts don't have access to the Sanskrit knowledge system. So what we need to do is bring the two together. The people who are specialists in language, people who are specialists in the scientific areas, just a couple of those that I have enumerated. There is a whole long list. I do not want to talk much about the list of subjects, but I would certainly want to point out mathematics, astronomy, physics, chemistry, animal husbandry, water resource management, and none the least, environment management. The world is suffering from global warming. A lot can be learned from Sanskrit knowledge systems on how to maintain the ecological balance. India has never suffered from ecological imbalance because of the inherent value system that was inculcated in the society and the people right from childhood, which stopped them from cutting trees. You could not cut trees because trees were representatives of gods. They would not make the rivers dirty because the rivers were considered to be as mothers. You have Ganga Mata and you have Yamuna Mata and you have Saraswati Mata. So all these rivers were considered to be mother goddesses. And how can you dirty the water of a mother goddess? Therefore, the rivers were always pristine and clear and clean. So you see, what I'm trying to emphasize is that the value system inculcated in a society goes a long way in maintaining ecological balance. Now, first, we have taken away from that by saying that this is all mumbo jumbo and it has got nothing to do with scientific. How can you get the whole society to study ecological balance? and then ask them to contribute to, to the world from going to the darks, so far as ecological balance is concerned. Therefore, it has to be a mixture of the social value system and the scientific thought process that has taken place to be brought together and interpreted and implemented in a way in which it is used for the good of the society. So we have to go a long way, let me tell you. We have to go a long way to harvest from the knowledge systems of Sanskrit for utilization in modern world. I only hope and wish that Sanskritists and modern scientists would come together, which luckily for us has started in some disciplines like management and of course linguistics, but not many other sciences. And I would wish and hope it happens someday, and we are able to harvest from the long tradition of experiments and long tradition of recording of experiences which have been contained in the Sanskrit knowledge system. The basic philosophy which talks about the good of all humanity in general has to be kept in mind, because that is the basis on which all these knowledge systems and all these traditions have grown. And I would only like to quote one shloka which is relevant and which is useful and which should always be remembered, and that is Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, may everyone be happy. Sarve santu niramaya, may everyone be free from disease. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, may everybody think positively. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, let there be nobody be unhappy in this God's earth. I always find it very difficult to introduce myself, simply because I don't really feel or believe there is much to introduce about myself either. But since you asked me this question, yes, I am Professor Dipti S. Tripathi. I was the former head of the Department of Sanskrit in Delhi University. Incidentally, I am the first lady head of the department ever. There have been others who followed me, but none before me. I was also the director of the National Mission of Manuscripts of Government of India in the Department of Culture. And at present, I am the president of the International Association of Sanskrit Studies, which has got its headquarters in Paris and which holds these World Sanskrit Conferences all over the world. So this time we are here in Nepal, very happy to be here and very pleased to be here. There are people who come from outside the subject area or the discipline area. There are others who belong to the discipline. I belong to the second category because I come from a family of scholars who has been in the field of Sanskrit studies for the past at least 200 years. So it almost runs in the blood. You are very much a part of the discipline. You have seen your parents, you have seen your grandparents, and you have learned a lot from them. And yes, I enjoy being a Sanskritist simply because not much is known about what Sanskrit is all about. You know, lots of people think it's an old language, and I'll share an anecdote with you. One of my then vice chancellors once out of the blue asked me this question, Dipti, tell me, what good is it studying Sanskrit? After all, it's a dead language. So I turned around and said, excuse me, sir, but Sanskrit is not a dead language. It's very much a living language. People still speak Sanskrit. A lot of literature is being created in Sanskrit. A lot of people are writing new jars in Sanskrit, and Sanskrit has the capacity to mold itself with the changing world. That is what a living language is all about. So, you see, this mistaken feeling about Sanskrit being a dead language, it has persisted much too long. And I personally feel that this needs to be counteracted and this needs to be taken care of. And the knowledge system contained in Sanskrit needs to be sort of mined, as it were, from where it is lying, to be put to use rather than rotting where it is being kept by the uncaring manuscript centers. Fortunately for me, since I have been on the manuscript mission and I have worked there for several years, I have a first-hand experience of how manuscripts are kept in India. And a lot is left to be desired. So I wish people would understand the importance of those texts. They would be put to use. I'm not claiming that anything and everything that is written in Sanskrit or in the old manuscripts are worthy of being used. But let me share with you, there is a lot that needs to be taken care of. And there is a lot that one can learn from and make use of in the present context. So, you talk of chemistry. The chemistry in this country was so far developed, and they used to, the difference in temperature, even that could make a difference in the effect of a medicine. The difference in the way the medicine was prepared, that is the alchemy of a medicine, that would make a difference. You talk of metallurgy. You come to Delhi, you will find an iron pillar standing in the open for the past 2000 years, and it's got not a speck on that iron pillar. So obviously, metallurgy was very well developed. And people have not been able to make out why it has not developed anything on the body till now. So there is a lot to learn which will make us save our time and energy redoing and reinventing and feeling we have done something new, which is already there in the text. So what is needed, according to me, is scholars from the modern disciplines and scholars from Sanskrit to come together, work together. The language experts would be able to explain or understand or interpret the texts, whereas the subject experts would be able to find out what is best for them. Now, you make me feel nostalgic. The first conference was held in 1972. And at that time, I was a research student in my university, working towards my PhD. And that was the first time ever that a world conference had been organized in Sanskrit. So the excitement of that conference, you had to really be there and feel it to sort of understand and even feel the excitement of having a Sanskrit conference being held. People from all over the world came over. The number was not half as large as it is now, but it was quite good. It was held in Delhi, well organized by the government of India itself. The Department of Higher Education had organized it. And I still remember not only young scholars like me, who had a lot to look forward to, but even very senior scholars like Professor Dandekar and Professor V.K.R.V. Rao and all those stalwarts whom we used to look up to, and whom we find, the very fact that Professor Dandekar would address you made you feel so good. Uh, so it was something really out of this world. And then, of course, the second conference was held in Paris, and it was there decided that this should be made into a permanent institution, and that it was sort of uh, dissociated from the Association of Afro-Asian Studies. There used to be, it still is there, mind you, but Sanskrit was a section in that World Conference. So Sanskrit was taken out of that, given its proper place. And the International Association of Sanskrit Studies was the parent body that was created and registered. And from there on, it was decided that triennial conferences would be held all over the world. And we have been fairly regular in this matter. One of the very few institutions we have regularly met, regularly explored, and regularly talked about knowledge systems in their own disciplines. The only time that we missed the conference was the corona epidemic. But thanks to modern technology, it was held online, which was in itself a matter of great pride, because it was one of the few world conferences being held online for 5 days in totality, and the people participating in it very enthusiastically. So thereafter, of course, we are meeting here in Nepal. Nepal also has a long tradition of Sanskrit studies. It has got a long tradition of manuscripts and manuscriptology. And we have had very great Pandits over here. So it was in the fitness of things that when we got an offer from Nepal, we accepted it. And so here we are. Uh, yes, why not? It was held in Vancouver in 2018, the Vancouver, Canada. Before that, it was also held in Japan in the year 2009. Before that, after that, it was held in India, in Delhi in 2012. So it has been held in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, and the only continent we have missed to date is perhaps, if I'm not entirely wrong, is Africa. We haven't been to Africa yet, but I'm sure we'll do that sooner than later. So we had a conference in Varanasi. In India, we had it at 4 places. The first one was held in Delhi. Then in 82, it was held in Varanasi. Thereafter, in 2012, it was again held in Delhi, followed by Bangalore. And after Kathmandu, this conference will be held in Bombay. So there is a statutory provision that after every 3 conferences, if I'm not wrong, because I don't have my papers in front of me, so I would suggest that you please check that after 3 conferences, the 4th conference will be held in India. Well, Nepal is almost like your own country. The culture, the people, the academic tradition, and the enthusiasm. It all matches very finely with that of the Indian subcontinent. Therefore, you don't feel you are away from home. You almost feel like you are at home. I don't think I would be doing justice to it simply because I am not fluent in Nepali. The only Nepali that I can follow well is the news read by news readers of the Nepal radio, which we used to listen while we were very young, and which we still manage to catch occasionally, because that speech is very close to the speech with which we are used to. But language keeps changing. You talk of any language during the last 50 years or more, you'll find a definite change. The vocabulary changes, the accent changes, the structure of sentences change, and you'll find grandparents not being able to follow what the grandchildren are saying. So that's what language is all about. It's like a flowing river. It just goes ahead and goes ahead and goes ahead. There is a lot that IASS can do, which we have till now not been able to harvest as an institution for the discipline to which we belong. And I personally feel that an institution like IASS has got the capacity to give a direction to Sanskrit studies all over the world, to interact with educational institutions and give them the direction in which Sanskrit studies should be taken, not only because Sanskrit is an exotic language. I don't think Sanskrit is just an exotic language. Sanskrit is very much knowledge base which needs to be harvested in its capacity as the holder of a lot of information and knowledge that is needed in the present world. I told you about a couple of subjects. I'll tell you some more. You talk of management. You see, I'm naming only those areas which are of late very much talked about, very much explored, and very much sort of the point of interaction for scholars. So you talk of management, and you have the best management expert ever born on God's earth, who wrote the Arthashastra. So that is not the only text. There are texts galore in Sanskrit. You can take from Mahabharata, you can take from Bhagavad Gita. So all these texts have got embedded in them the gems that can make management a great science. So you talk of chemistry. I told you about the alchemy of things, how the variation in temperature makes a difference in the effect of medicines that are prepared. Then you talk of metallurgy. I have told you about it. You talk of physics. You talk of so you talk of any modern discipline or science. There is something there in Sanskrit which it can offer to the modern world to proceed from the base and go much further than begin from the beginning and not reach the destination in a limited period of time. We are passing through a period of turbulence. The whole world is passing through a period of turbulence. And being a Sanskritist and a student of Sanskrit literature, I know the peace of mind, the health of body, and creativity within leads to a happy world. And all these things are badly missing in the modern world. I wish people would be willing to delve into the literature, mine from that literature what is useful for them, and use it in their lives to make for a more peaceful, happy, and productive world. As they say in Sanskrit, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, Sarve santu niramayah, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. May all be happy. May all be creative. May all be productive. May all be healthy, and may we live in a happy world.